Good morning, everyone. So, next topic that is metal carbonyls. But yesterday I have sent one video regarding carbenes, boranes, and carboboranes. So that is actually not in our syllabus, and by mistakenly I posted that video. But the last topic of this first unit is metal carbonyls and then organometallic compounds. That is in short, that is also known as OMG, organometallic compounds. Okay, so now. Uh, the metal carbonyls. So actual topic is what is it? Metal carbonyls. Okay. So that name implies that what are metal carbonyls? So the compound which is consist of a metal along with carbonyl group. So here carbonyl means not carbonyl functional group. Though carbon monoxide in organic chemistry, particularly in last lesson, that is coordination compounds, also we have studied CO as a carbonyl. Okay, in nomenclature we denoted or we given the name, and we read the name of the CO group as carbon monoxide as carbonyl group. So here see, I will show you. Okay, okay, see. So this is metal carbonyls are the transition metals. So the metal carbonyls consist of a transitional metal complexes. In short, you can say metal carbonyls as a complex compounds also, but these are consist of a metal, so that belongs to transition metal, and carbonyl means a carbon monoxide containing a metal carbon bond. So in that compound we can expect what? Metal carbon bond. Okay, so metal is going to be form a bond with carbon of CO or carbonyl functional group. So the lone pair of electrons are available in both carbon and oxygen atoms. So if you look at if you look at, so here see. So this is carbon monoxide. So in that blue color lobe, we shown one lone pair of electrons, and on oxygen again we shown one lone pair of electrons. So that means in carbon monoxide, we can say that is as ambident ligand also. So that means it is a monodentate ligand, but it has two donor atoms. Carbon has one lone pair of electrons, and that is also known as non-bonding electrons, and oxygen also has one pair of non-bonding electrons. So that means here we have both donor atoms. Carbon can donate one lone pair of electron, or else oxygen can also donate one lone pair of electrons, so thereby to form a bond between metal and carbon. But due to high electronegativity of oxygen, so oxygen has the less tendency to donate the lone pair of electrons than carbon. So that's why here carbon will donate its lone pair of electrons to the metal. So thereby it forms a metal ligand bond. So here see in this picture. Okay, so this is metal. Metal has a vacant orbital. So this the orbital has lone pair of electrons. Now this carbon of carbon monoxide will donate the lone pair of electrons to the metal of empty orbital. So thereby these two lobes will be overlapped here. So this is overlapping. So results formation of a bond between metal and carbon. So which type of bond? So it is nothing but a dative bond, or you can say coordinate covalent bond. So generally dative bond shown with a arrow mark. So the head or the direction of the arrow mark always towards the acceptor. Okay, so that's why he is shown like this. Okay, so this is the way of formation of metal carbonyl bond formation takes place. However, the carbon atom has donated a lone pair of electron to the metal. These complexes are named as carbonyls. The variety of such complexes, such as mononuclear, polynuclear, or homoleptic and mixed ligands, are known as. Okay, so in next slide we will discuss about the classification of carbonyl compounds. These compounds are widely studied due to the industrial importance. So why we are studying this? Because it has industrial importance. Particularly these are used as a catalyst, and so particularly we use this one as a catalyst in the synthesis or some industries also. And the second one is structural interest. Structural interest means these carbonyl compounds has some rigid nature or rigidity or we can say uh, hardness, or so due to these properties we use in some other manner. Next, carbon monoxide is the one of the most important pi acceptor. So here see one more thing. And at the same time, here what happened, the carbon donates one lone pair of electrons. At the same time, this carbon has vacant orbital also. So this carbon has vacant orbital. So due to that, it can also accept the lone pair of non-bonding electron from metal to thereby to form a back bonding. So already here we shown one front bonding, and also due to availability of vacant orbital on carbon atom, so it will take up a lone pair of electrons from the metal. So thereby again what happens, a new bond is formed. That bond is known as back bond, and that is also known as pi bond. First one is sigma bond, ligand to metal, that is sigma bond, and that one is pi bond. Here see, so pi acceptor ligand. So the carbon monoxide, because of it has one vacant orbital, so due to that one it can accept, it acts as a acceptor. So which acceptor? Pi acceptor ligand. Because of its pi acidity. Acidity means the according to the Lewis acid based definition, the lone pair of acceptor is known as acid. So pi acidity, the carbon monoxide can stabilize zero formal oxidation state of metal in carbonyl complexes. So here, if you just recall the nomenclature or calculation of oxidation state of central metal ion, or else classification of ligands also, we classified this one carbon monoxide or carbonyl as a neutral ligand. So due to the neutrality, this central metal atom doesn't have any charge in metal carbonyls. Okay. So though it doesn't have charge, but it stabilizes the metal complexes because of second bond, that is back bonding. Okay. So the carbon monoxide can stabilize a zero formal oxidation state of metal. So that means it can stabilize zero oxidation state of metal due to the back bonding or pi bonding. And the formation of dative bond. So this is formation of dative bond. So actually, oh sorry. Okay. The formation of dative bond. So sigma bond. So this is sigma bond. Okay, so the formation of sigma, the first one, this one, the formation of first one, how it happens? So due to the overlapping of a lone pair of electrons of carbon monoxide with the vacant orbital of metal atom. So that results the formation of a sigma bond. So this is the way of formation of sigma bond. And so just now we have discussed about another bond, that is pi bond, and that is also known as back bond. So how it forms? See here, see, and this is the vacant orbital of carbon, and these are the pi orbitals of central metal atom, and these pi orbitals has lone pair of electrons. So what happens? The lateral overlapping of or sidewise overlapping of this unhybridized orbital leads to the formation of pi bond. So here see, let's see the, here see, just you see the, can you see the direction? So now the I will maximize this. Okay, see, now you can see. So now the direction is towards carbon. So that means here, certain metal, this metal atom donate a lone pair of electron to the carbon. So due to that, what happens? So this is the way of representation of back bonding or pi bonding, and this is the representation of the sigma bonding. So that is the difference between these two bonds. Okay, so this is sigma bond, and this one is pi bond. Okay, so the resultant complexes are known as metal carbonyl complexes. And a part of these two types of bonds, we can expect one more bond, that is, um, in addition to the carbon, bridging of carbonyl groups. So bridging of carbonyl means nothing but this carbon can simultaneously form a bond with two metal. One carbonyl group can form bonds with two metal atoms simultaneously or at once. So then that carbonyl group is known as bridged group. Here see, carbonyl ligand can also known to form a bridge. This type of bonding is observed in some binuclear or polynuclear carbonyls. So that means this bridged grouping or bridged bonds formed by this carbonyl only can be observed or seen in binuclear or polynuclear carbonyls. And this bridging bond is generally denoted as nu, and this is N, and this is CO, carbonyl. So that means in front of carbon monoxide we place a mu. So where N indicate the number of metal bridges, number of metals bridged. So generally we show the carbon monoxide can form bridging between can acts as a it can connect two metal atoms. So most of the cases we show n as 2. So while n is 2, the most common value it reaches to be 3 or 4 also, but is very less common. And the terminal metal carbonyl group, each carbon monoxide donates 2 electron to an empty metal orbital, while in bridged carbonyl groups, so each metal carbon bond is formed by the sharing of single electron. We know that. And next, let's see the classification of metal carbonyls. And on the basis of central metal atom, the number of central metal atom, the metal carbonyls are classified in the following categories. So mononuclear carbonyls, in that we may have only one central metal atom, that is transition metal atom. Binuclear, we may have more two transition or central metal atom. So let's see see the example Mn2CO taken 10 times. So Mn2 means in this complex we have two manganese atoms. So another one is Fe2CO9. So we have in our syllabus, we will study about this one. And next, poly, more than two the metal complex which has more than two central metal atoms. Such molecules are known as polynuclear carbonyls. Next one, another category is bridged carbonyls. So here bridged, here say mu2. To mu2 means the carbonyl group will bind to metal atoms. Okay, so we have one more example, that is Fe2CO9. So we have in our syllabus, in that we will look at the structure, how this carbonyl group can form bridging, and how a metal bond also we can be observed in this compound. Next, mu3. So just now I told you 3 indicates what one carbonyl groups can form bond with 3 metal atoms. And carbonyl hydrates, so a part of carbonyl group and metal atom, we may have one more element, that is hydrogen. So such complexes are known as carbonyl hydrates. Okay, let's see preparation and properties of mononuclear carbonyl groups. In that mononuclear carbonyl groups, we have three monometallic carbonyl groups. So one is nickel, second one is iron carbonyl, and third one is chromium carbonyl. Okay, so let's see first preparation. So generally we can prepare these metal carbonyls by two methods. One is by direct method, and the second one is oxidative reduction. So in the direct method, what we do, we prepare passing the carbon monoxide over the nickel in the temperature range of 60 to 100. So that will give this one. So here see, whenever this carbon monoxide, that is gas, passed upon nickel at 60 degrees to 100 degrees centigrade, that will give a nickel tetracarbonyl complex. Okay, we have one more method. So in that we can prepare nickel. Generally, we get the nickel tetracarbonyl. How? So just by passing these fumes or carbon monoxide on nickel iodide in presence of copper. So here the copper will act as a catalyst, and that will give halogen acceptor. So that then we can get this one. And next one is another method. So in that, what we do, just we pass the gas of carbon monoxide on the nickel sulfide. So that will also give a tetracarbonyl nickel. And the properties of this tetracarbonyl nickel, and generally these are the colorless liquids having the melting point of minus 25 degrees centigrade and boiling point just above room temperature, so around 43 degrees centigrade. And it decomposes in the temperature range of 180 to 200 degrees centigrade. So that means whenever we heat this tetracarbonyl nickel up to 180 to 200, then what happened, it may be decomposed. And again we can observe this decomposition reaction whenever nickel tetracarbonyl is treated with sulfuric acid. So this is H2SO4. This is H2SO4. Okay, so this is sulfuric acid. So whenever we treat this nickel carbonyl with sulfuric acid, what we get? We can get a nickel sulfate, and along with hydrogen, that is colorless gas, and the second one is carbon monoxide gas. Okay, and next one is it reacts with moist nitric oxide, that is NO. Okay, so moist means it may have water, H2. H2O, moist means moisture. Okay, so this is, so that will give what, this compound nickel nitrocell hydroxide. and 8 hydroxides, and it releases carbon, what is that, hydrogen gas. Okay, and the CO will be removed as carbon dioxide gas. Okay, and next one is passing the gases hydrochloric acid in the solution of, so actually I'm supposed to place this one. Okay, so whenever gases hydrochloric acid is passed upon the nickel carbonyl, so then we can get nickel chloride hydrogen gas, and here releasing of 4 moles of carbon monoxide. And the uses, so what are the uses of nickel carbonyl? So generally we use this nickel carbonyl on heating decomposes to the metallic nickel. So it is used in the production of nickel by Mons process. In Mons process, so generally we can prepare the nickel from nickel carbonyl. So that means nickel carbonyl is used as a ore to whom nickel. And next, it is also used for plating nickel on the other metals. So coating. I think most of you know about roll gold. So what is roll gold? So on silver surface, what they do? So generally they run aram or arik. Aram means bangaram. Aram solution. So that by that manner, so for coating purpose, we can coat this nickel and other metals. For that purpose, we use nickel carbonate, and it is also used as a catalyst in the synthesis of acrylic monomers in the plastic industries. So acrylic monomers means the single molecule. So by combining the single molecules, we prepare what, a polymer. So in that polymer of acrylic polymer, generally we use this nickel carbonyl as a catalyst. Okay. And next, structure. Let's see the structure, how it looks like, and what is the hybridization. So generally, it is a spherical hybridized, and it has a tetrahedral molecule, a tetrahedron shape. So this is central metal atom, and these are carbon monoxides. And how many? 4 carbon monoxides are placed at corners, or we can say vertices of tetrahedron. Okay, so this is the structure of nickel tetracarbonate. And next one is pentacarbonyl iron, or Fe iron pentacarbonate. Iron pentacarbonate, FeCO taken. So direct preparation. So just now I told you directly. So what we do? So as like in previous nickel carbonate. So we pass this fumes or gases of carbonyl upon the iron at the temperature and the pressure. So then it will give a result, our iron pentacarbonate. And one more method in that, as like in previous, where in nickel tetracarbonate we have used nickel sulfide, NIS sulfide. Here we are using iron sulfide, iron sulfide or ferrosulfide. So ferrosulfide with carbon monoxide in presence of your copper acts as a catalyst, or you can say reducing agent also, no problem. So it will results formation of iron pentacarbonate. The next properties, so as like previous one also, that is a liquid, and but is that colorless liquid, and whereas this one is a yellow colored liquid. And melting point, so just above the nickel tetracarbonyl melting point is around 25 degrees centigrade, 25 degrees centigrade, I think. Yes, minus 25 degrees centigrade. So but this one is minus 20 degrees centigrade, and boiling point is far greater than previous one. So that has around 43 or 44 degrees centigrade, but it has 103 degrees centigrade, and the decomposers temperature is 250, compared to that one is a bit high. So nickel tetracarbonyl can be decomposed in at around 180 to 200 degrees centigrade, whereas this iron pentacarbonyl will be decomposed around 250 degrees centigrade, and it is insoluble in water but soluble in glacial acetic acid, methanol, and ether. Okay, so it is insoluble in water and soluble in organic solvents. Okay, organic solvents. And cold solution of iron pentacarbonyl in glacial acetic acid undergoes dimerization under the influence of ultraviolet light. So that means when we kept when we store this iron pentacarbonyl in glacialistic acid, so then what happens? It may undergo dimerization to result Fe2CO taken 10. Okay, this one, sorry, Fe2CO taken 9. So that means we can use this one for the preparation of by nuclear iron carbonyl. Okay, so it is readily hydrolyzed by water and acid. So this one we will be, now this will be dimer of pentacarbonyl will be soluble in water, whereas monomer is insoluble. Okay, and next this is the reaction. So whenever sulfuric acid, so whenever pentacarbonyl is added to the sulfuric acid, what happens? Like nickel tetracarbonyl, so it also gives a sulfate, iron sulfate, along with the releasing of 5 carbonyl. So nickel tetracarbonyl also has given similar reaction. And next other reactions, so when this is treated with NaO sodium hydroxide, then we will get this type of complex compound. And this complex compound further, that means it is a continuation reaction. In first step it forms this compound, and second one is it will be converted into hydro hydrocarbonates. Okay, so sorry, sodium salt of hydrocarbonates. And in further, in whenever it is treated with acid, then we can get hydrocarbonate. And next one is iron pentacarbonyl is treated with sodium in liquid ammonia. So same reaction you will find in, I think you have studied in last year in organic chemistry, that is Bitch reduction, reduction of alkyne into the uh, stereomeric geometrical, it will give trans alkene. Okay, so no problem. So it will give a complex compound. So this is a complex compound, sodium tetracarbonyl ferrite. What will be the oxidation state? 2. And next one, this is another reaction. Whenever this one, this complex compound is treated with organic compound in presence of again liquid ammonia, it will give alkyl substituted complex compound. And next one is it reacts with ammonia to give tetracarbonyl hydride and carbamic acid, that is glycine. So this is okay. Next one is structure. Let's see the structure. So this is the structure of sp3d2 hybridization, and this is trigonal bipyramidal. So this is trigonal, and this is trigonal, planar trigonal, and these are bipyramidal. So this is the structure of what? Hmm? Iron pentacarbonate, and its diametric nature, magnetic nature is dia means it doesn't have any unpaired electrons. Why? Because if you recall the electronic configuration, iron atomic number is 26, 3d2, sorry, 4s2, 3d6. So actually the carbonyl is a strong ligand, strong field ligand, and this strong field ligand, what it does, it pair up the unpaired electrons. So thereby those 6 electrons will be paired into the 3 sets that accompanies providing vacant d2 orbitals. So this d2 along with 4s and 3p 4p orbitals, so that will undergo hybridization. So just if you recall the VBT, valency bond theory, so it is very much similar to the valency bond theory. So by applying that theory, we can identify the hybridization also. So hybridization is d2 sp3, and whereas nature is magnetic, diamagnetic in nature. And next one is hexacarbonyl chromium or chromium hexacarbonyl. So direct method. So here it is a bit different. This is reductive oxidation, uh, oxidative reduction. So whereas here we are using lithium aluminum hydride, LaH means lithium aluminum hydride. It is a reducing agent. So already you have used it in organic chemistry. So this chromium chloride, chromic chloride is treated with carbon monoxide in presence of lithium aluminum hydride. It will produce our desired metal carbonyl, that is chromium hexacarbonate. And it is in another indirect method. So this is here we are using RMGX, and instead of carbon monoxide we are using along with this carbon monoxide, we are adding one more reagent, that is Grignard reagent. So you can replace this lithium aluminum hydride with a Grignard reagent, that also gives this type of complex, and it is unstable, and further on acidification, so that will give our desired one. And next the properties, it is a crystalline solid, but previous two are liquid. Unlike previous two, it is a crystalline solid, and melting point is 150, and those melting points are, one is minus 20 degrees centigrade, second one is minus 25 degrees centigrade, and this one is 150, and boiling point is 220 degrees centigrade, where first one nickel boiling point is 43, and second one boiling point is around 180. Okay, and but this one, by this chromium hexacarbonate boiling point is 220 degrees centigrade. It is insoluble in water like iron pentacarbonyl, and it is soluble in organic solvents. So similar to iron pentacarbonyl. It is not attacked by air, bromine, and cold aqueous alkali dilute acids and concentrated hydrochloric acid as well as sulfuric acid. So, but previous, unlike previous, this is withstand to aqueous alkali. Alkali means base, dilute acid, concentrated acids. So here concentrated sulfuric acid as well as concentrated hydrochloric acid, and it is decomposed by chlorine gas. Okay, and concentrated nitric acid, and it reacts with fluorine at minus 75 degrees centigrade to form chromium hexafluorides. Okay, it reacts with sodium metal in liquid ammonia, just like our previous iron also has done, given same type of reaction, and that also given same a complex compound. And next one, this is it gives a substitution reaction. Substitution reaction means one carbonyl will be replaced by. So that means here carbonyl means nothing but a ligand. One ligand is replaced by another ligand. So CO is a monodentate ligand, and pyridine also a monodentate ligand. But whereas pyridine is a organic compound. So if you know the structure of benzene, so in that benzene we have six carbon atoms. But whereas pyridine, it also similar to the benzene, but one of the carbon of benzene will be replaced by nitrogen, so that will be the pyridine. Okay, so when we vary the concentration of pyridine, so it results a different colored compounds. So if you take 2 moles of pyridine, you may get this yellowish brine, so that means 2 will be replaced by 2. And in say if I, so here so this is the thing, and actually it is not 7, it should be written as 1. So sorry, here 2 moles of CrCO6 is take part in the reaction, and if you take 3 moles of pyridine, you will get this one. And structure, so it is octahedral, due to sp3 hybridization. So this is previous one is dsp3, sorry, not d3sp2. So previous one is dsp3 hybridization. This is dsp3 hybridization, sorry. So trigonal bipyramidal, and this is D2 sp3 hybridization, and structure is octahedral. Okay, and next one is only one binuclear carbonyl compound we have in our syllabus, that is Fe2CO taken 9s, or you can say diiron nona carbonyls. Okay, how we can prepare? So just by dimerization. So this dimerization, in previous slide also we have seen that dimerization can be done in glacial acetic acid, but here also this dimerization is carried out in presence of light. And properties, diiron carbonyl forms a golden willow triclinic crystal. Triclinic means it is a phase means one form of crystal, and its melting point is around 100 degrees centigrade. It is insoluble in water but soluble in toluene pyridine, and a solution of diiron nanocarbonyl in toluene disproportionates when they heated to 70 degrees. Disproportionate means it will give two different products. And next we look at the structure. So here see, now we can up to now we have seen only one type of bonds, that is metal carbonyl bond, but now onwards we can see three types of bonds. So first one is, this is metal to carbonyl bond, and this is metal metal bond, and this one is bridged carbonyl groups. This one is, these three are bridged. Okay, and next one is calculation of electrons, total number of electrons present in complex compound. So it is almost similar to the EAN, effective atomic number, what we have studied in coordination compounds under this Sedgwick. So this is proposed by Sedgwick. So the total number of electrons present in a complex, if equals to the atomic number of nearest inert gas electronic configuration, then that compound is considered as stable. Okay, so how we can do this EAN, or how we can calculate the effective atomic number? So here for that, here we have one formula, that is EAN is equal to Z plus small a plus small b plus small c. where Z is the atomic number of metal atom. Atomic number of metal atom. So any atom or any element which has equal number of electrons to that of atomic number. So for example, if you take iron, atomic number is 26. So that means iron will have how many electrons? 26 electrons. Next, A is nothing but the number of electrons donated by terminal carbonyl groups. So terminal carbonyl groups means C. So in this, these three and these three are considered as terminal carbonyl groups, and these three carbonyl groups are considered as a bridged carbonyl groups. Okay, so that is the difference between these two. So here we have two types of carbonyl groups. So these three are terminal carbonyl groups, and these three also terminal. So total 6 terminal carbonyl groups we have in Fe2CO9. And how many bridged carbonyl groups do we have? Same, 3. Okay, so A means number of electrons donated by terminal carbonyl groups, and B is the number of electrons donated by bridging carbonyl groups. So bridging carbonyl group means these three, these 1, 2, 3. So number of small b means what? Number of electrons donated by bridging carbonyl groups. Or you can say that if you don't want to mess in that, you can simply multiply that 2 into number of ligands, or 2 into number of carbonyl groups. Just you can replace this whole thing with 2 into number of carbonyl groups. Okay, and C is nothing but C is what is that? C is number of metal bonds. C is what? Number of metal bonds. Okay, let's see the examples. So let we do. Okay, so first we calculate the uh, EAN of one compound. Okay, we start with this one. Okay. So if we, what is the formula? Iron, the CO taken 5 times. 5 times. So here, so EAN is equal to Z plus small a plus small b plus small c. Okay, so where Z is equal to what? Atomic number of Z is equal to atomic number of iron. So what is the atomic number of iron? 26, and comma. So how many carbonyls do we have? So here A means what? Number of electrons donated by terminal carbonyls. Okay, so how many carbonyls we have? 5. So each carbonyl can donate how many electrons? 2 electrons into how many carbonyls do we have? 5. So that equals to how many? 10. So we don't have any bridging carbonyls, and in mononuclear metal complexes, there will be the no metal bond. There will be the no metal bond. So therefore, so if you sum up this 26 plus 10, how much? That is equal to 36. So it obeys EAN rule. Or else we can also justify this rule with 18 electrons. 18 electrons are octet electrons, 18 electron rule. So 18 electrons. So it is a little bit different. So here what happens, how we can get that Z will be replaced with the number of valency electrons in valency electrons in metal atom. So what is the electron? If you write the electronic configuration of iron, atomic number is 26. So how we can write? 1s2, comma 2s2, 2p6, comma 3s2, 3p6, then 4s2, 4s2, then 3d, how much, sorry, 3d6. Okay, so this is one. And if you consider the last two, uh, so if you consider last two electronic configurations, so this is known as outermost configuration or outermost electronic configuration. So up to now, how many? 18 electrons we have. So we cannot say this, we cannot say these as what? Valence electrons. What are valence electrons? Or the electrons present in the outermost shell. And a part of that 4p we have 0. 4p 0. So that means fourth orbital 4p will don't it doesn't have any electrons. Okay, so this is how many valence electrons do we have? How many? 8. So 8 plus 2 into number of carbonyl groups. How many carbonyl groups we have? 5. So that equals to 8 plus 10, that equals to how much? 18. So this obeys 18 electron rule. So that's why it is stable. Okay, you calculate remaining two, and I will show you the calculation of this one. Okay, this one. So in this C, here also the general formula of this complex is Fe2CO taken 9. Okay, so this is, what is that? Di-iron nano carbonate. So for this, how we can calculate this? Effective atomic number are 18 electrons. So later in next slide we have one tabular form. In the tabular form you can get all those things. Okay, Z plus sorry, Z plus small a plus small b plus small c. Okay, where Z is atomic number of, Z is equal to, what is that? Z atomic number of iron. So how much? 26. And next comma a means what? A is equal to, so the number of electrons donated by terminal, these are terminal carbonyl groups. So how many terminal carbonyl groups do we have? 6. So is equal to how much? 12. So sorry, 12. So if you look at the structure, these three and these three are considered as terminal carbons, or you can say free. So just now here we saw B is an terminal carbonyl groups. Okay, what is B? B is nothing but number of electrons donated by bridging groups. So how many bridged carbonyl groups we have? 1, 2, 3. So each group can donate 2 electrons. So 2 into 3. So that equals to how much? 6. And what about C? C is number of metal bonds. So how we can get the number of metal bonds? So how we can calculate the number of metal bonds? Okay. So C. So for that we have one formula. So 2 into 18 minus number of valence electrons. So I will show you with V, number of valence electrons, plus sorry, plus 2 into small n carbonyl groups. Sorry, carbonyl groups divided by 2. Okay, so we will work it. We will work out it how we can get this one. So here see next C is equal here. So 2 into 18 how much? 36 minus V means number of valence electrons. So how many valence electrons we have in iron. So in last time we have done it. So how many? So 6 plus 2. So how many? 8. Okay, 8 valence electrons. But how many valence electrons actually into uh, number of metal atoms? So how many irons we have? 2 irons. So 2 into how many valence electrons? 6 plus 2 into how many carbonyls do we have in this formula? 9. 9. So divided by 2. So again, how much we will get? So 36 minus 2 6 are 12. 12 plus this how much? 18. Mm, sorry, this is 8, not 6. Why? Because 3d6, 4 is 2. 8 2 is 16 plus 18 divided by 2. Okay. And next, so that equals to 36 minus 16 plus 18, how much? 34 divided by 2. So further, how much we will get? 2 by 2. 2 divided by 2, that is equal to how many bonds we have, how many metal bonds we can expect? One metal bond, metal bond, metal bond. So each bond contains how many electrons? 2 electrons. 2 electrons. Okay, so by means of this formula, we can find out the C value. Got it? Okay, so here, okay. So what is the Z value? So here, see, while you are calculating EAN, so here you need to be take half of this. So 50 actually how many? 26. How many bonds do we have? 2. So that means by 2 we supposed to take it. We supposed to take by 2. At that time only we can get the actual form, actual value, EAN value. So okay, no problem. So how many? 26, the atomic number of iron, and how many iron atoms do we have? 2. So next plus how many A how much? 12 plus B how much? 6 plus how many metal bonds we have? 1, that is C means 1. How many it contributes? How many electrons? 2 electrons. So sorry, here I'm supposed to write 2 electrons divided by 2, divided by 2, divided by 2. So that gives how much? So 36 in 26 into 2, that is 52 plus how much this one? 12 plus 6, 18. So C, irrespective of this, instead of A plus B, you can consider it as 18. So 18 here, see, here this is 2 into number of carbonyls. How many carbonyls? 9. So 2 into 9. Okay. So to not mess or to not complicate this thing, if you don't know the structure of polynuclear or binuclear metallic carbonyls, instead of, in that case, at that time you can better to avoid the A plus B. So instead of A plus B, applying A plus B, you can calculate the total number of electrons contributed by carbonyl groups. Okay, so that means 12 plus 6, how much? 18. So here we got same thing. So 18 plus 2, how much? 20 divided by 2. So that is equal to how much? So 72 by 2. So that gives how much? Again 36. 36. So by that manner we supposed to calculate the EAN rule, and we can justify that same rule with 18 electrons. Okay, 18 electrons. And then, so this is the tabular form. So in the table we can you can calculate the EAN value. So here he given the Z value, A value, B value, C value. So particularly see here, see So in this case, you have bridged ligand. So by calculating the AN of bi or di or polynuclear, so here you supposed to take half of this, the half of this formula. So half of this means actually here in the calculating of in previous case we have taken 26 plus 2 as number of electrons, but here he has taken only, consider only one iron atom. Okay, next, how many terminal bonds do we have? Six terminal bonds, but he has taken only three terminal bonds. Okay, he has taken 50%. And next, how many bridged ligands do we have? Three. So each contribute how many electrons? Two electrons. So but here he considered only one, so that's why he taken as three. And one into one is one metal bond and one electron, not two. Okay, so if you sum up this, you will end up with this number. Okay, so these are the complex, this is bridged molecule. So in that bridged or without bridge, you can do same thing, you can get same values here. See, so CO2, cobalt, dicobalt, octa, carbonate. So if you consider the bridged, okay, so how many electrons? 6 plus 2, 8. But here also without bridged also it contributes how many electrons? 8 electrons. Okay, so this is the way to calculate the EAN rule. Okay, so in next class we will discuss about last topic, that is organometallic compound. Okay, so